out the literature that we have available for you here at the table. Lots of resources that you can take advantage of. We're going to be having and to say there are still pro-life people in this country. There are still people who think it's not a good idea that people should have a so-called right to take the life of their own child. So pick up some of the literature. Make sure these made us in your image. And we thank you so much for that. We thank you that you're compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, and abundant in loving kindness and truth. And yet you will by no means leave the guilty unpunished. You told us in Exodus. And so, Lord, thank you for your grace and mercy and kindness towards you. Thank you for the forgiveness that's available through Jesus Christ. And today, as we mark this anniversary of legalized abortion in this country, as we again say to our culture that we believe that life should be preserved and protected, enable us to be witnesses of yours through that. Enable us to be courageous in standing up and pointing out the evils of our culture, and at the same time saying that there is forgiveness available. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the beautiful weather today. Guide us through this time. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. First up, we have
said it would have 58 million abortions. And what comes to my mind is not only all those lost lives, but 58 million parents out there who are suffering with the traumatic stress of the abortion. And forgive me if I get emotional during this presentation because I always get when I talk about my retreat ministry, Rachel Vineyard. And I brought with me today Jeannie Fernandez. Jeannie's our site coordinator for our Spanish speaking retreat, and she's been with us every step of the way on at least 30, almost all of our retreats but one. So, which is the Italy. So, please give Jeannie a big hand for all the work that she does for us. So, for all those who have experienced the pain of abortion, many are left with emotional damage. For all the talk that we hear in our culture about the need for choice, about the war on women, and about, the freedom that women need, we never ever hear what happens after the choice. And so the Rachel Ministry retreat was developed to sort of embrace and support and love feeling of being within the spirit, feeling of being used, feeling of being in Christ. Hopelessness and despair, bitterness. We see this a lot, don't we, Jeannie? They develop eating disorders as a way to numb the pain and avoid future pregnancies. So becoming unattractive is a method for a woman which perpetuates the belief that she's unworthy of attention, and weight loss can also be a way of shutting down the menstrual cycle so that she will avoid future pregnancies. So I just want to give you a little bit of history about how this retreat started. It started in the early 1990s with Dr. Teresa Burke. Has anybody heard of her work? She wrote the book with David Reardon in about 1995. It's called Forbidden Grief, The Hidden Pain of Abortion. And David Reardon is he's an expert in grief. It's a really, really good book if you want to find out more information about the effects of abortion. So Teresa was an LCSW, and she was working for a psychiatrist in Philadelphia, and she was facilitating a therapy group. And during the group one evening, one of the women became very upset, and she disclosed for the first time that she was post-abortive. And then she started to talk about all the angst and the pain that she'd been through, and she stormed out of the room, leaving Teresa with about 7 or 8 women to debrief. And what happened was that she learned that 6 or 7 of the women there present were also post-abortive, and began talking about the commonality of the symptoms that they had. And so then she decided to, I think she wrote a curriculum for a 15-week support group, which later turned into a weekend retreat, which she had in the Philadelphia area. And then a post-abortive support group in Kansas heard about it and invited her to come and do the retreat weekend and train some of her members. So then, from word of mouth, the retreat spread throughout the United States. And 20 years later, now in 2016, the Rachel's Vineyard Retreat Ministry team is offer over 1,000 retreats in 49 states at 375 sites. A site means it's a team. And we have 14 teams now in California. One is now being developed on the Central Coast, so we should have 15 soon. So if you think about it, women who choose abortion are going against their maternal instincts to take the life of their child while it is alive in their womb. So they can mutilate, destroy, and dismember their child while it is still alive, which is a devastating, traumatic experience. But women are never told about this, and they don't really realize it. So characteristic symptoms of this involve re-experiencing the trauma, having intrusive memories, flashbacks, nightmares, night terrors, and traumatic arousal, and the avoidance of any stimuli that will resemble the traumatic event. There can also be just the opposite, where women experience just a general numbing of their emotions. They just cut themselves off. And they also have, this is real common too, feelings of intense grief on the anniversary date of their abortion procedure or of the expected due date of their baby. There's many triggers and connectors that we hear women talk about during the retreats. And some of the audio triggers are like the sound of a vacuum cleaner. It reminds them of the sound of the suctioning in the clinic. The sound of a dentist drill can set off cognitive and emotional experiences. So they have a difficult time putting words to their feelings and their memories. So this causes an inability to complete the breathing process. And this brain process explains one of the reasons why the Rachel's Vineyard Retreat is an exceptionally powerful and effective treatment model, because it helps to integrate the cognitive and emotional elements of the trauma. It calms and soothes the nervous system. It stimulates the frontal cortex of the brain by the prayers, meditations, and the exercises that we have, and then allows for the completion of the trauma, as well as a reconnection for the person to themselves, to God, and to their aborted baby. One of the most obvious losses, of course, of abortion is the baby, but there's other losses that go along with it. From the moment of conception of her first child, a woman is never not a mother again. Her mother wiring kicks in, and she thinks and feels. Read some research that says, like, the cells of the baby stay within the mother's body sometimes up to 30 years. So that's kind of an amazing statistic. I never knew that. Denial is another thing that affects the life of a post-abortive woman or man, and it's if in order to cope with all this pain of the aborted baby, and statistics show that usually mothers break up with the father of their aborted child within 3 months after the abortion procedure. So she becomes emotionally isolated, and that can be from family and friends. There's a loss of sense of self-worth, where she asks herself, what kind of person am I that I would take the life of my own child? She may feel isolated from the church, and especially the Roman Catholic Church that promotes such a strong respect for life message. She feels isolated from God and may not be able to pray. She may not be able to read scripture anymore or participate in fellowship with others in her Christian community. And this isolation can also compromise her life goals, her vision of success, her sexuality, her health, her ability to trust others, her feelings of having control and power in her life, and her ability to make choices and trust those choices. So, abortion opens the door to continued loss and is a life-changing event. She often chooses an abortion so that her life will not change. paradox is that the losses of the abortion and the coping mechanism of denial that goes along with it prove to bring about a greater change. The same. So what do post-abortive women and men need? Well, first of all, they need to know that it's normal to feel hurt. They need to understand that they're not alone, that other people have experienced this ordeal. They need to be able to dismantle the secret that they've been holding onto for many years, speak the truth in love and honesty, and openly dealing with what happened to them. They need to know that there are others who understand, and they need to tell their story and talk about it in a safe, non-judgmental, and confidential environment. Confidentiality is of utmost importance to help people get through their healing journey. We stress that over and over again with our retreats. We make sure we don't advertise our retreat site where we're having the retreat. We try to keep everything as confidential, and we have all our retreat participants sign an agreement to honor their commitment to confidentiality throughout the weekend. And over all the years that I've been doing this, I've never had that breached, and I'm very grateful for that. So the retreat process of Rachel's Vineyard is a journey of the heart. It's a specific process designed to help those women to experience the mercy and the forgiveness of God. And it's an opportunity to surface and release all this repressed pain that I've been talking about. So we're together for 40 hours, and we're together in a small group process. We do this throughout the weekend. We start on Friday night with dinner together, and then at 7 o'clock, with honor and respect, and not being judgmental at all. So they are pretty much saturated in love during the whole retreat. I'm going to talk a little bit about Sunday afternoon. We have a memorial service, which gives them an opportunity to grieve the loss of the children that they've never had that opportunity to be public about. So we have a memorial service in which they get up and they talk about their children and honor their lives, give them respect, dignity, and love. And we also, because that baby during that grieving process becomes transformed from being a fetus to a clump of tissue to whatever the world has told them it is, because it's too painful to think of as a baby or a child. I was doing an interview with a woman on the phone one day, and there was just a long pause, and she said, "What baby?" And I said, "Your aborted child." And she said, "Nobody ever told me this was a child. They just told me it was a bunch of tissue. It wasn't a baby." On Saturday night, after we've named the babies and we've entrusted them to God, we read them a letter from their aborted child. Now, I can't just make me cry, so I'm going to have to do it. It's not making me cry. With words of love. Mother, dear mother. Good morning. She was a totally different person. She was smiling, her hair was up, she was joyful. And so we get to see these miracles of transformation with every retreat. I just want to read a quick note that was written by a man named Mike. He said, "I never knew my wife had suffered so much pain over an abortion she had before I met her. It was a real eye-opener to attend the Rachel's Vineyard retreat with her and offer my support in the area of her life where there was so much secret grief. Our marriage has truly been blessed. We are closer now than we have ever been, and I've had the privilege of being able to spiritually adopt her aborted baby. Thank you, Mike." Pope John Paul II wrote a note to women in the Gospel of Life, and I'm just going to close with that. And this is what he said: "I would now like to say a few words to women who have had an abortion. The Church is aware of the many factors which have influenced your decision, and she does not doubt that in many cases it was painful and an even shattering decision. The wound in your heart may not yet have healed.
So as we close today, let us thank God that we would be faithful, that we would continue to commemorate together, even as we go out to our individual journeys. May God help us. Let us pray to the Lord. Lord, have mercy.
Lord, have mercy.
O Lord our God, giver of life, you've created us in your most holy image and came that we might have life and might have it abundantly, and have made us stewards of such great gifts. Lord, in recent times, the horrific realities about the abortion industry, the heartless retailing of organs and parts of aborted children, has been made all too clear to our society. And yet, though we see, we do not see. And though we hear, we do not really hear. And so this nation is without excuse, having suppressed the truth in unrighteousness. Nevertheless, we here beg you, enlighten the minds and hearts of those blinded to the truth that life begins at conception. Make us respectful of life, and sharers of your blessings, caring for one another in mercy and truth. Banish from our hearts all evil and wickedness from our laws, and enable us as a society to be servants of your holy will and performers of your love. Kindle in our hearts the will to care for the most vulnerable of our neighbors, especially isolated and despairing women and men in crisis pregnancies and their unborn children. We lift up to you, imploring your great goodness, that those women and men whose lives have been scarred because of abortion, granting them true repentance and healing. Console those who have lost grandchildren, children, brothers, and sisters because of the loss of unborn children slain in the womb. Be merciful, O Lord, to those who through ignorance or willfulness affront your divine goodness and providence by actively promoting or willfully ignoring the abomination of abortion in this land. May they and all of us come to the light of your truth and glorify you, the giver of life, together with your Father and your all-holy, good, and life-creating Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages.
Hit the life on Facebook, like it, put up the post and everything.
Men for life.